Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So now we come to
Hello.
the part where we discuss what we heard from our rabbi. It's been last week was his birthday, and it's been 3.5 years now since he's gone, but his teachings are still so real. It's interesting that as I'm typing them out, sometimes I don't always get the not the mood, but the tone at which he's speaking, and it comes across a little harder when I type it out. It's always important to listen to the message, to listen to what he's saying, and not just read it. If you do listen again, I think it's important. I was thinking that he was talking about the land, and that the land is alive. He said the indigenous people call it Mother Earth. Even the rocks are alive. Everything about God is life, and he wants us to live. And when he told us to leave the land alone for every 7th year, he told us that he would provide enough in the 6th year that we would be able to put the food aside, and over the next 3 years, we would be provided for, because the following year, we would have to leave the land alone so that all the people could come and benefit from what they could take from the land. I don't know how I would feel if instead of my land, let's say it's my company, my business, and then in the next year, let's say I'm providing uh, what can I do? Whatever service I'm providing. And the following year, I would let everybody come in and take whatever I had. I'm not so sure I'd be so happy about that. It's really hard to relate it to today, but what he's saying, the bottom line is that no matter what, we have to trust God. And he said that the most important possession that we have is ourselves. It's like we represent the land. The land of Israel is also represented by the earth. He said the earth is the Lord and all that is in it. So when we look at ourselves as being, because we're made from the dust of the earth. So we are that land. And when we think that we can't release the things that are holding us back from being the very best person we can be, we're lying to ourselves and we're not trusting God. That's what I see from this message. Did you get something different, or what aspect can you bring from the message that we heard today?
I think it's pretty much what you said, but I just love the idea. I just wrote down, he said, okay, let it go just sounds like a cliche. People just say it, and you say that to somebody who's in the middle of an anxiety attack, oh, just let it go. It sounds trite, but it's much bigger than that. It's well, let me see. Well, when he talked about when you release, or you learn to trust God, and you begin to release yourself from whatever you've done in your life, as horrible as it might be, if you don't release it and you keep on like knocking yourself, flagellating yourself, and not forgiving yourself, basically you're saying, number one, God is a liar, and also that there's no hope. And that it was really, really, really true, and it's really special, because there's a kind of maybe unconscious self-righteousness, like I cannot let this go, I'm too bad a person. Now I know that somebody very close to me keeps saying that, and I'm trying to tell this person, well, I do it myself, but what I'm learning, but what that means, and how we have to forgive ourselves. And basically this whole thing to me, he said, release and redeem, release and redeem. When you release, you're letting go, then your own life and what God created you to be will start to come back. Like there's a lot of things I have, fear of doing this or doing that, or whatever. And I realize that I'm not living up to what God created me to do and to be. And I think all of us have our own version of that.
I think we don't realize how very present God is in our lives.
Yeah.
And last Sunday, I did the concert at Maimonides. And for me, it was a wonderful concert. I had really good feedback and I was really happy with it. But then the next things, there was a whole bunch of things that just started to happen, almost like to take away all the joy that I had from after I did this concert. One problem after another was hitting. And I was really starting to get stressed and upset. And then the next day I sat down to type out the message, which is probably why I noticed that some of the things that I typed in were in a very different mood than what the rabbi was saying. But as I was typing his message, I started to feel exhausted and I didn't want to do it. I was looking for every excuse. Oh, I don't feel like this. And then I stopped myself because I remembered some of the things that he was saying. And I just stopped myself and I said, God, please help me. Please help me to enjoy what I'm doing, to be grateful for this message that we had from the best rabbi that I've ever met, and to just change my attitude. And I'm telling you, within moments, the attitude changed within me. And within an hour and a half, I was able to type out the message and I was happy. We don't realize how powerful God's Spirit is in our life. We think we can't make changes, like we don't want to change, or we get comfortable where we are, wherever our own phobias or things that are holding us back from being the very best person we can be, we are doing it to ourselves. We are locking God out of the process of growth. And that's what God is trying to show us. He keeps saying, just trust me. And when we're not trusting him, we know we're not trusting him. We may be thinking, we just can't do this. We're not capable, whatever it is. And we are lying to ourselves, because when God is with us, as the prophet says, if God is with us, who can be against us? We're usually the ones who are against us. We are our own worst enemies. And we say things that make us an authority on something that isn't true. I was listening to something my granddaughter was talking about yesterday. She's been diagnosed, like I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, but I know I'm very ADD. I'm very impulsive and I'm very fast. And sometimes I don't have patience and I have a lot of the symptoms, but I don't dwell on those symptoms, because if you create a title, you give a name to something that you think you are, that the so-called authorities have given to us, it becomes so real, so strong, that everything else is identified through that title. It's like we give it too much power. We give it more power than God himself. And I noticed that not only by all my years of doing hypnosis and working with the unconscious, how we tell ourselves what we can and cannot do. And we lock God out of the equation. So we have to be careful when we do those things.
Another thing that we do sometimes, that I've done many times, that's kind of childish, which in some ways we are all at different levels, but some of us,
which is what he said, we're like 2-year-olds.
Yeah, we're like 2-year-olds. But one of the things I find myself doing, and I realize I have to stop, there are times in our lives where things happen in a certain way because of where we are in our life, whatever it is. And my thing that I sometimes do is, like I say, well, God, how come when I tried this, you're saying do this again? Why come last time I did this a few years ago, I didn't sleep the whole night? Like, as if, see, you say, go try this or that. And that time it didn't work at all. You weren't there, whatever. And it's a way of making an excuse in a way. But I know that I'm doing that right now with something that's coming up. I'm saying, how come that happened? And why should it not happen again? So it's really, things happen at a different point in your life, and there's a reason, and maybe whatever it is, I don't know, but there is a reason for when and why things happen. It's still a lack of trust, but it's like it's not a legitimate way of acting. Like it would be like a 2-year-old saying, "How come you didn't give me the lollipop last time, and now you're saying you're going to whatever?" I can't think of a good example, but
Well, it's like an onion. We peel an onion and we get to all these different layers. And God, we are dealing with it in the best way we can in the moment with what we have. But then it's like, remember Rabbi said life is like a spiral. So it looks like we're going back to that same situation again, but this time we're handling it a little better. And the next time we get to the situation, it's a process. God is the God of continual beginnings again. So we do handle it and we do grow. When we walk without God in our lives, it's a downward spiral. Then we can pull ourselves down into who knows where. But we are walking on an upward spiral, and that makes all the difference in the world. That's what walking with Holech. We walk with God.
Yeah.
And in all things. Like I have watched a growth even in Brian Schulman. I've watched changes in his life where he's handling things much better than he ever used to, much more aware.
Yeah.
And if all of us really took a look and saw that in our lives, how life is a process and we will never be perfect. We will continue to make mistakes. Yes,
Speak for
Baruch.
yourself.
Yes, Baruch.
Joking.
I can't hear you. You're on mute.
You didn't answer the phone last night.
No, there's a big echo, so I'm going to put you back on mute. I didn't because I was still on Zoom with my kids. That's why. So, does anybody have anything that they want to add before we close for the day? Anything that you heard from Rabbi's message? I know it's difficult for some people like Sarai, who speaks just Spanish. She's just learning a little bit of English. Solamente un poco es inglés. No,
Just want to
no
say that,
bastante. Yes.
just to sum up, to me, it was a message of colossal hope, and such a hope that really, it was very good.
Yes. And one of the things about the Shemitah, every 7th year, we were to leave the land alone. And because we didn't do it, because we were disobedient over a period of 490 years, and how do we know that? Because every 7th year, we had to leave the land fallow. We were removed from the land. We were literally spit out of God's land because the land belonged to him. And so he takes care of his land. So we were kicked out of the land for 70 years. 7 times 70 is 490. So for 490 years, we did not obey the Shemitah, and God said, I will allow my land to be, to lie, to get its rest. And when we think that we can circumvent what God wants by making additional laws, like he said, you could buy a piece or you could sell it to a Gentile who would have the deed signed by a rabbi that whatever the land produced, a portion would go back to the owner. But that's only fooling God. Who do we think we could fool him? It's impossible. So we have to really look behind what the actual things that something is saying, that it wasn't only for that period of time, it's also for today in how we obey him. Like we can say, well, and I do that sometimes. Well, I really need this on Shabbat. Maybe I can go and get it. Who's going to notice? Well, God notices. He notices everything. So we really have to ask ourselves, am I being obedient to God? Yes, Malach. Yes, Angel.
Yes, a beautiful message from our Rabbi. This very the idea of 7 times 7, which in Hebrew it means completion. It's a way to see that it's a way to say that is a final time. It's a time of fulfillment, the time of completeness. And interesting that if you understand that, as the rabbi said, that the land is a living being, and we are product of this land. We are living beings too, and when we let our land, which if you go to look at yourself as your body is just a temporal embodiment of the spirit of the creator.
Right.
Each one has the right to in the free will that the creator gave us to live our lives accordingly as we wish, and God does not force anyone, but it's up to everyone to learn and to experience life in this temporal body. But there is a period of time. There is a time where the land has to rest. It's a time where the land will you will not be able to collect its fruits. It's a time where the focus is changed. It's more towards it's, how can I say, it's more like a spiritual way of saying of telling us that we are more than just land. We are more that and we need to focus and this time we need to see what the meaning of returning our possessions. What are our possessions, and what is the real meaning that the creator wanted to give us through the scriptures, like understanding of what is to receive back what is our right, what it's all used to belong to us. And the other next thing is that the most important thing is also it's seeing that we are part of a family, and when we see that we return, that our possessions will be returned to us, but we also will return to our family. We return to our family, which if you understand what family, the meaning of family is, it's it's a group, which is part of you. You are part of them. There is a very deep spiritual connection, and that help us to grow and to learn and in our life journey. So when you understand that, it's like we are in a sort of finally we reach to the point where we understand the connection that we have as humanity, with not only the creator, but with each of one of us, and what a beautiful way to put it all, in this example of a jubilee, in this, that the creator gave us to understand that we already have, we are receiving right now, this year, well, we are receiving what belongs to us, what belongs to humanity. And we have received also, we are returning to our families. And this is what is happening right now. And I believe that we are living extraordinary times. And I believe also that soon everything will be more clear to all of us. And it will be things that's happening right now.
Amen, amen. And that'll be wonderful to see. Well, thank you everybody for sharing, getting together on Shabbat. Enjoy the rest of the day. Have a good rest. The land, your land, Karen's land is very quiet today. And she knows about the earth producing and growing and
yeah, she was telling me about what happens to her. What was it? the seventh. I mean, when it was the year where she didn't, was it the year of the Jubilee?
Mita?
She did not plan that year. What a coincidence that she did have no time. Whatever was the reason, it happened that she let the land rest.
Wow.
But like it produced so much afterwards. Like it produced, you know, things that we didn't plan came up. You know, we had a lot of things.
Wow.
It was incredible. It was
Amazing. Wow. That's fantastic to hear.
even though we see that this happens on the seventh, on the sixth year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We can produce for the seventh year.
Exactly. Well, we're
it's
gonna have to come and visit your land.
Oh yeah, well, Karen was thinking about to have like a little. So I mean, invite everyone, maybe have a barbecue, but this is up to Karen. So she's
Yeah, well, it's a big job to have everybody, but maybe if you know, a few people at a time, so it's not too much, not too much on her. But that would be wonderful. I would love to see you guys. All right. Well, I wish you all Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Have a wonderful day, the rest of the day, and a good week at the end of Shabbat. God bless you all.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.